Hi, welcome back to Handful of Stars. I am your host, Helene. Today I'm looking at marks on the hand that represent someone who is intuitive or tapped into magic and the woo-woo. So on my hand, the number one mark I look for is the Mystic Cross. I have just a boatload of them, and all Mystic Crosses represent is an interest in the unseen. Doesn't necessarily mean you're a mystic or psychic. It just means that you were very open to that. I have this whole little graph of them, and that just means there's a lot of energetic activity in that way. There are other marks that mark intuition that I do not have. There's one called the line of intuition, and what that is a circle that hugs this whole Mount of Luna over here. And the Mount of Luna is this deep emotional space of intuition and mysticism and psychic abilities. Stars on the Mount of Luna would also be really strong signs for intuition, people that can manifest just really quickly. Also, fingerprints over in the Mount of Luna. I read those like whirlpools of energy, and they can be really hard to see. So getting a print of your hand would really show if you have any kind of fingerprint over here. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my guest. Hello, Kacee Friedman.
Hi.
Hi. So you have a lot of these marks. Let me see. Let's hold up this hand. So you have a very strong Mystic Cross right here, and it just looks like an X in between your heart and your headline. Your headline also dives down into Luna, and Luna is when it's like really pouncy and fleshy, that means it's well developed. So none of this stuff is any surprise with you because you are very intact. You also have the fingerprint on this hand. It would be impossible to see without really getting a magnifying glass, but your headline dives right into it, and it's really interesting because the fingerprint is right at the end. So to me, that's just this dive into, these energy sources that you have access to. So you're an artist by trade. You do beautiful, beautiful work. Tell us a little bit about your medium and what you do.
So I work mostly in acrylic, but sometimes now transitioning a little bit more to oil. And I do kind of a little bit of a landscape and a lot of times a little bit of a portrait, where some of my pieces are just peaceful landscapes. A lot of times I work with foggy roads. And then I will sometimes add in women who are wearing high-end fashion, because that's my other passion is fashion.
Are they always from the back?
They're a lot of times from the back, but not always. Okay. I think in the last couple of series, I've done them facing the building because I like the relatability of it. It's sort of like the stick figure thing where everyone can see themselves in them. Whereas if it's a face, I feel like it's, that person rather than it could be you.
Yeah, there's this also air of mystery, especially when you have some of those landscapes. It's so like moody and gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're an artist, you're a mother, you are also in my coven. We have our little coven of like 5 girls. And the reason I brought you on the show is to talk about magic and magic in the modern world. So being a magical mama, using magic in more logistical ways in life. So tell us a little bit about your background with that.
So I took a course with Brandon at Modern Mystic.
Knight.
And it was advanced manifesting. And I think that was where I really called it magic.
Right.
Before then, it's always just been the way that I exist. I was born very mystical. I have always seen things, heard things, been able to create things very easily. And so that was kind of when I realized that what I practice is magic.
Right.
Mm.
So having that class with Brandon made you realize,
Yeah.
oh, this is what I've been doing without even knowing it.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. All of my, adult life, especially with my ex-husband, he used to say, because of the amount of like serendipities and things that would happen to me, he would call me an axis mundi. And that means like, lightnings kind of putting these things together in my life. Coincidences that just make no sense in any other way. So tell us a little bit about maybe some things that you do to manifest. Or is it internal? Is it rituals? Is it...
Well, so I work a lot with ritual, which I think that's kind of a good basic for your magic practice, where you can work on, like, there's an LBRP ritual that is where you acknowledge angels. I feel like you also bring in power. So it's a very short daily morning practice, but there's also a lot of other rituals that I use that are traditional magic rituals, but also things that I would say I made up, but I would probably be wrong. I think my guides have told me to use.
Okay.
So a lot of times it will be with candles, and then I focus on what I want to create, and I sort of let the words come to me. I let the power come to me, and then I sort of give back to the earth. I make sure that there's an exchange, that I'm thanking my guides. But a lot of it comes down to listening, I think, for me, and meditation, and getting in there with my guides and with source and my higher self, and letting it direct me to what I really want to manifest. And I think that's where your power is.
Right.
So
just setting a strong intention and just, what I do is what do I want? And I try to put all my energy, my thoughts into it, and I put things out into the universe, and I see what sticks, and I take that as like a breadcrumb to the next level or the next step. That's what I mean.
Yeah, that's very much mine as well. Yeah.
But it's not something anybody taught me either. It's just like, okay, this is what works for me.
Yeah.
So
it gets results.
Exactly. So everybody, I feel like, will find what works for them. But I'm sure a class like Brandon Knight's is very helpful in learning, other tools. And
it's a tool. I mean, it's a toolbox.
Right.
And if you're drawn to a class or a teacher, most likely you're already there. You're already ready. You're manifesting in some way. It's always helpful to have other tools to keep you safe, to keep you protected, to keep you from manifesting something that you might not want.
Right.
I think that's something else. To manifest things that are truly in your heart, that you really desire, rather than maybe what your ego desires.
Got you.
And
what I love about you and our group of friends is that, you think about magic being in this Harry Potter world, right?
Yeah.
We're all women living lives. We have our children, we have our homes, we have our partners, and we've learned how to work both worlds into each other.
Yeah.
I know you are building a house, or you just bought a house?
We're building a house.
Have you used this in that process at all?
I have. I definitely went into sort of my spell work around what I was creating to make sure that the house that I was creating not only was beautiful, but I think that there's other things we need to look at that nourishes my family, that fits us, that creates more for us. Your environment is really important. And so kind of putting those places in that are, that nurture you.
Sure. So you have a 7-year-old son. Do you talk to him about any of this stuff? Or
I do.
Or like religion? Like, how does that come into play with raising a child?
It's interesting. He went to a Methodist preschool. So, of course, he learned about God and Methodist religion, which I love. I'm totally into religion, because when it comes down to it, I believe in God. I believe in source. I believe in all of that. It's just kind of that I believe in more than that.
Sure.
So we talk a lot and say, like, here's the thing, babe. His name is Escher. So I'll say, Escher, not everyone's going to believe everything that you believe, and that's okay. mommy practices magic. You know, I'm a magician. It is a real thing.
Yeah.
And there are many people who do not think it's a real thing, and that's okay.
Right.
But he also practices his own form of magic, I think,
Sure.
because it's so natural to him,
Yeah.
you know?
And a lot of people that you meet in this community, they had that when they were children. You know, they had the ability to see or hear or tap into other sources, and they were shut down. So it's very interesting with the children that we're raising now, because we're not shutting it down, you know? So what is it going to be like when they're adults? I'm actually really excited about that. And I know a lot of people in the spiritual community are talking about different ways to support intuitive, sensitive, empathic children, and I believe that kind of thing can only do our world better, right?
Yeah. Well, and you need to understand that they're sensitive. I know as a child, I was extremely sensitive, and a lot of it comes down to, we talk about, it's not healthy to shove your emotions down. We don't want them stuck in our body. We want them to, you know, be processed. We want to feel our emotions. It's not all happy
It's
rainbow
not
clouds.
Disney princesses
No,
all the time.
it's definitely not. The work is work,
right?
You know?
Yes.
So that's, I think, like one of the biggest things I try and work with, because it is hard to not be like, baby, don't cry.
Yeah, be happy.
You know, be happy.
Yeah.
You want them happy, but you also need to know that
things are going to come up.
Tears help, you know, tears cleanse you. That's not a bad thing to get that energy out. So I think that's a constant thing that I try and remember.
Yeah,
you know?
My daughter right now, 3.5, she's really sad going to, when I drop her off at preschool. But I'm not saying don't cry. I'm saying it's okay to be sad, you know, and it's funny watching her process. She'll be like, okay, I'm happy now, because she's been through, you know, the process of emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really feel like with Escher that the more I see him grow, the more he's understanding things that I never understood at that age, you know, just about how the world works and how energy works. And we talk a lot about, you know, if this is the energy you're putting into it, then this is the result you're going to get.
Right.
Kind of
law of attraction.
Yeah, law of attraction.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the other day he had a bad day, and I was like, that's fine, babe, but you need to look at the day. It started with one thing, and then you were sort of in that energy, and it just kept going in that way. I was like, but you always have the power to stop it.
Right.
That's your power.
Yeah. You're
the most powerful being alive, if you think about it. It's just always recognizing your power.
Yeah.
In this situation.
That.
Yeah.
And so just to backtrack a little bit about magic, and it sounds you're talking a lot about working kind of solo, and me too, manifesting just on my own. But whenever I have an opportunity to get with a group of people in a moon circle, in some kind of meditation, even yoga, I feel like that's when you can really move things to make it happen. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. And recently I've been thinking more and more about the magic thing as maybe a way. I think that there's a lot of power in it. And I think that us coming together magically could really help us heal the earth. You know, I think that there's so much power in multiple people really stepping into who they are and then, you know, clumping it together.
Right.
And creating something different, you know, especially when we're looking at our children who have not doubted their magic.
True.
You know?
Yeah. So I wish when I was younger, because when I was in kindergarten, everyone was just like, she's so sensitive, she's so sensitive. I would like run home from school if you know, somebody said something bad. But now we have the word empathic, and it's a lot cooler to be like, oh, we're an empath, and like, oh, I was a sensitive little crybaby.
Yeah.
So, I mean, watching the evolution of magic, and like also just as a collective recognizing, you know, that some people, sensitive is just sensing more.
Yeah.
You know, it's not necessarily like weakness.
Yeah. And I remember, I think that was when my mom first recognized that I was a magical child, was when I was younger, I could just sense things in the other end of the house, you know, like I would be able to she would come home and I would be like, oh, where's the flowers you picked? And she would be like, I left them in the car.
Oh.
I didn't, you know.
Thanks for the reminder.
Okay. And I see that now with my son, where he'll say things that I just I'm like, okay, well, he sensed it.
The first time I did Reiki, I actually got Reiki attuned just for my daughter because she is just a very emotional kid. And the first time I put hands on her crown chakra, she just looked at me like, magic hands. Like, she just like lit up, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. Because she could sense right into it, and it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, they haven't put up all those boundaries yet.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. And I am so happy that we're able to raise 2 children that don't really need those boundaries.
And I've met a lot of other moms in our circle, especially just Atlanta, that are the same kind, doing the same kind of parenting and supporting their children that way. So I really hope maybe there's some kind of collective that forms, and we can, band up and support each other. Yeah. Magical Mamas on Facebook.
Magical Mamas. Yeah. Raising the future.
Exactly.
Of magic.
Raising the future vibe.
We're going to heal climate change.
With our hands.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. So tell us where we can find you online for your art and to see what you're up to, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. It's Kacee6art, but you spell Kacee, Kacee, and then it's SIX, art. I also have a website, so you can go to kacee6.com as well and see all of my work there. And I've been working on some new exciting things. I think we're going to expand a little bit. Nice. So, yeah, I'm really excited. So keep an eye out for that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Very excited to see what you're up to.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Thanks for watching this episode of Handful of Stars. Be sure to look out for my book being released October 15th, 2019. The title of it is Handful of Stars, Palmistry Guidebook and Handprinting Kit, and it's coming out from Harper Design. So until next time, we're going to give you a high five.
High five.
Bye.
Bye.